On today's show, we interview the Forbes senior editor, Zack O'Malley Greenburg, on how Kanye West created the Yeezy brand, what it's like to interview Katy Perry, Justin Bieber, and other super successful entertainers. On today's show, Zack O'Malley Greenburg shares his path from the campus of Yale to becoming a senior editor at Forbes.
Get ready to enter the Thrive Time Show.
We started from the bottom, now we here. We started from the bottom and we'll show you how to get here. Started from the bottom, now we here. We started from the bottom, now we here.
We started from the bottom, now we're on the top, teaching you the systems to get what we got. Colin Dixon's on the hooks, I break down the books. Z's bringing some wisdom and the good looks. As the father of five, that's why I'm a dive. So if you see my wife and kids, please tell them hi. It's the C&Z up on your radio, and now 3, 2, 1, here we go.
We started from the bottom, now we here. We started from the bottom and we'll show you.
Yes, and yes. Dr. Z, my friend, what do we commonly refer to as our business Bible? What do we always say?
We always quote Forbes. I mean, Forbes is our business Bible.
That's what we do.
If it's in Forbes, book it. Book it, Dano.
That's Oklahoma Man Law 1.273. Always quote
I mean,
Forbes.
every entrepreneur, that if that's on their bucket list to be on the cover of Forbes, and I could be on the cover of Forbes and one of those little bitty like inserts at the corner.
That's all you need.
Like this just in, Clay and Robert, boom, they're boomtastic. They're,
Well,
boomerific.
this guy
Just a
writes
little insert.
Forbes cover stories. So I'm looking at the website. It's zoegreenburg.com. And Kendall, if we can put the camera on it, ZOGREENBURG, Zoe Greenburg. You can see here. This man has done the article with Katy Perry, the cover article, the cover story. Ashton Kutcher, Justin Bieber just did a sit-down interview with Kanye West. Zack O'Malley Greenburg, welcome on to the Thrive Time Show. How are you?
All right, good to be here.
I am so glad you came to Tulsa, Oklahoma to visit us, my friend. Would you have you been overwhelmed, underwhelmed so far? What's going on as you're processing all things Tulsa, Oklahoma?
I've been very pleasantly whelmed.
Well,
nice.
Wow,
Overwhelmed feels like a bad thing sometimes. You don't want to be overwhelmed. You want to be underwhelmed. You want to be like pleasantly whelmed.
Wow,
right?
that's well said.
I give you a mega point. Okay.
He does get a mega point for that.
Now, how would you describe what you do for Forbes now? I think a lot of people don't know when they hear the phrase senior editor. What does that mean?
Sure, it means a lot of stuff, and not all of it is editing. For me, the kind of bread and butter of it all for me at Forbes over the past decade has been doing these big stories on the biggest figures in media and entertainment, particularly music and particularly hip-hop, which is kind of my passion over there. So, dating back to the very beginning of my time at Forbes, the way I got into it was an editor walked into my cubicle, and this was, 2007. I just started. She said, "Hey, you're under 30. Do you like hip-hop?" I said, "I love hip-hop." She said, "Great. We're going to put together the first ever list of the top earning rappers in the world, and let's go do it." So I did it. We put it out. Jay-Z, Diddy, 50 Cent were in the top 3 in that order, I believe. And they were so excited to be recognized by Forbes that they made a song called I Get Money, the Forbes $1 Billion Remix.
Forbes, 1, 2, 3.
Been around the block, pal. Imagine what I got now. The Bentley, the Ferrari, maybe the Bugatti, Range of Maserati.
Yeah.
And then we were off to the races. So that editor came back and she said, "You should make this your thing." I did. She left, got her contacts, started kind of growing this part of the coverage, and kind of brought it up to, all the way through the rest of media and entertainment and music, and started writing books on the side.
Previous to working at Forbes, what were you doing before that?
I was in college at Yale. I was writing for the Yale Daily News, not really about rappers, unfortunately.
Did you enjoy your time at Yale?
I did. I got to say, college newspapers, a lot of times have the kind of the setup and the resources, that a lot of major publications, don't these days, especially in smaller towns, to actually have, all these different desks, editors, people working. I mean, part of it is that we're all working for free 40 hours a week. So, of course, you can make it work and not have to charge for subscriptions. But it really was, a truly functioning news organization on a small scale that had a pretty big footprint. And, I got to kind of grow my, strengthen my writing muscles over there.
Were you into writing a lot as a kid growing up?
Yeah, my parents are both writers. They wrote about everything that I didn't end up writing about. So my dad wrote humor and thrillers, and my mom did kind of true crime stuff. So, I do business, hip-hop, music, immediate entertainment, all the other stuff now.
And your wife's a psychologist.
Yeah, full-on psychiatrist. Yep.
Psychiatrist.
Yep.
Does she...
That's like probably 4 extra years you're talking.
Has she determined why, on a deep, dark psychological level, why you write about entirely different things than your parents once wrote about? Is there some thing? Do we have a label for it?
Oh man, we'd have to get her on the line.
Have you guys talked about this?
We had an idea actually for a blog, which was that I would interview people and then she would psychoanalyze them. But we thought that might be breaking both some kind of journalistic and Hippocratic oath.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
Okay, so what we're going to do now is this is.
But it sounds
be,
great, though. I mean, the concept's pretty cool.
Yeah.
This guy went from the cubicle to the top in terms of the top. One of the top of people, writers at Forbes there. And what I want to do is this is going to be a shameless name drop show.
Oh, let's do it.
So what I'm going to do, and I know when you're interviewing people, there's certain things you can share about the interview, certain things you can't, but I would just want to go, it's nothing but name drops, okay? So here we go. So when you're sitting down with Katy Perry and you're interviewing her for the cover story of Forbes called America's Pop Export, did you come up with the title for this?
I believe it was a collaborative process, but certainly think I suggested at least part of that one, sure. Yeah.
Who had the idea to interview Katy Perry?
That was me. I thought she'd be a great fit, for a lot of reasons. At the time I did the story, I think it was 2014, 2015. She was one of the top 2 or 3 earning musical acts in the world. But people like Taylor Swift, maybe Lady Gaga were getting a little more ink. And, I thought one of the really cool things about Katy Perry was she sat down with me 2 hours, no publicist, no handlers, nobody in the room, and that was just the first interview. And she really dug in to her journey as an entrepreneur, and she wasn't kind of afraid of talking about money and wealth in the way that a lot of people I interview are. I think a lot of entertainers, they think, oh, if I talk about my wealth, people are going to think I'm a sellout. Not so much with hip hop. Hip hop, it's sort of like, no, we're gonna go get it, and we want you to enjoy this journey with us. But a lot of pop acts in particular are afraid that they'll be seen as sellouts. And Katy really owned it. She was like, no, I want to be a role model to all those young women out there, and to know that you can be your own boss. You can go get the thing that you want, and build a business, be an entrepreneur. And I really want to own that as opposed to sort of shying away from it. So I really respected that a lot, and I think it really made the story come alive. Also, we did a second interview in Italy, which was the beginning in Italy, in Rome, and that really made the story pop. I thought that became the intro of the story, and where a lot of the color and the drama came from.
Who pays for you to go out there?
Oh, that's Forbes, yeah.
So Forbes, so you fly out there, and you're interviewing. Do you use
coach, but yeah, fly out there.
Do you use a pen? Are you using a pen? Or are you typing? Do you record the interviews?
Yeah, recorder, and then usually notes as well.
Notes, okay.
Sometimes 2 recorders just to be safe.
And you go in with all the pre-written questions. What do you bring to the table before you interview the person?
I usually bring let's say a dozen or so questions, depending on how long the story's going to be. But I find the best kind of interviews are the ones where you're not just kind of ticking through a list, right? You're having a conversation with this person, and you kind of just ask follow-up questions, see where it goes. You follow the flow, and I think in a way, it almost stops feeling like an interview anymore. It stops feeling like a chore.
Yeah.
Instead, you're just having an interesting conversation with an interesting person.
Bring it back.
I usually bring, let's say a dozen or so questions, depending on how long the story's going to be. But, I find the best kind of interviews are the ones where you're not just kind of ticking through a list, right? You're having a conversation with this person, and you kind of just ask follow-up questions, see where it goes. You follow the flow, and I think, in a way, it almost stops feeling like an interview anymore. It stops feeling like a chore.
Yeah.
Instead, you're just having an interesting conversation with an interesting person.
And so you end up, after 4 hours with Katy Perry, how much material do you have at this point? How many pages of transcripts are we talking about?
You're probably dozens of pages, but
Dozens.
but then there are the notes, right?
Yeah.
So, the notes I think really made this story come alive. Like I was alluding to earlier, the beginning of the story, you find me in a Mercedes van roaming the streets of Rome. Whoa! I guess,
No pun. No pun intended.
Rome.
that would get edited into something a little more descriptive.
When in Rome, Rome.
When in Rome, I eat Italian food. Okay, there we go.
And on the phone, my phone rings. It's like, all right, you need to stay in the van for one more mile, and then at the end of that journey, you're gonna get out at the light, and you're gonna walk down the street for 200 feet until you see the red arch. And it's like out of a spy novel. So
wow!
I get out of the car, I walk the mile, and I turn and I look. I'm like, which arch? It's Rome. There's gonna be a lot of arches. And it's like, okay, you're gonna look for a lady in a big white hat. Lady in a big white hat. And I look down, and there's a lady in a big white hat and sunglasses, and you wouldn't know it if you hadn't had her security team on the phone, but it was Katy Perry. And so they had to do this whole charade because she was being stalked by paparazzi. So they had two Mercedes vans, and she was in one and I was in the other, and I didn't realize I was the decoy.
Oh, wow.
And to kind of get them off my back. And so, the door opened, and out pops some American guy, and they're like, all right, whatever. Off they go. And then I go meet up, and we do a tour of the Coliseum. And the whole story was about, it's here's Katy Perry, this giant arena act, but here we are in the original arena, the Coliseum in Rome. And that was kind of, from there we jump into the business.
Do you get nervous when you're interviewing Katy Perry? I mean, have you ever found yourself saying, Katy, what was your name? I mean, sir, can I, do you ever get nervous at all? Have you ever gotten nervous?
Maybe in my first year doing this, a little bit, I'd get butterflies and stuff. But, at some point, people are just people. And, and it's fun to I'd say it's fun to interview interesting people, whether they're famous or not. And you just kind of get used to it. It's like if you interview somebody who's really, really tall, you're like, dang, you're really tall. But if you're only interviewing basketball players, it just sort of stops being
they're all tall.
thing.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
you're just like, okay.
Is Katy Perry funny?
Yeah, she's funny and she's very earnest. I think people don't maybe realize that. There's not like, she doesn't put on airs. She's very direct.
Yeah, she seems like a down-to-earth kind of gal.
Yeah, 100%.
Just off the top of it, I'm going to ask you this question, wow. First thing that comes to your mind.
Here we go.
Of all the interviews you've done of celebrities, A-list celebrities, which one has surprised you the most? First thing to mind.
The name that pops into my head is Ludacris.
Okay, explain.
Yeah, he has this kind of outrageous persona,
right?
In his music.
Outrageous name.
Exactly. It's in the name. What are you expecting? Yeah. But I was interviewing him, and he was kind of getting into his portfolio and these businesses that he owns and this and that, and he's creating this company that he wants to hand off to his daughter when she gets old enough, and this kind of stuff. And I was like, so how do you kind of justify that side of you with Luda?
Yeah.
And he said, well, if you think about it, like if you have a buddy, he's like, think about your best friend. And it's like, what's your best friend's name? Julian. Okay. Well, what's his nickname? It's like Chops. You never know. You never know. So just like that, you got Chris Bridges on the weekday, but he's Luda in the club, and he really kind of bounces back and forth between these two different personas as needed. But I think he kind of inhabits both of them, pretty well, I'd say, and to great financial advantage.
When you're sitting in the room with Kanye West, you went to Kanye's home, correct?
Indeed.
And people could look up the article. What's the name of the article people can look up right now?
It's called Kanye's Second Coming. It's on Forbes.com, or there's magazines floating around with it, too.
So when you fly out to his home and you arrive there, how would you describe the interior of Kanye West's home?
It's almost like a monastery. It's just very simple, kind of alabaster color. Everything is, it's high ceilinged, and in fact, it's made from all the floors are made from this special paste that you can only get in Belgium, or you can only have the crew that makes it is based in Belgium. And so if you so much as scuff the floor, they have to fly in all these guys from Belgium to fix it. So, I walked into this interview wearing my Air Jordans because I thought it would be an interesting conversation piece, because Yeezy.
Oh,
sneakers are
sure.
a
Yeah,
big
yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah.
And the minute I walk in, they're like, "Oh, you have to put these little booties on your Jordans," you know. But it wasn't because of any hatred for Air Jordan. It was because you didn't want his floors scuffed. So did that, and that was kind of like a nice little twist. But then Kanye walks in, in his own Yeezys with no little cloth booties on. He's like, whatever, it's my place. Do what I want.
What is he like? What is his personality type like? I mean, I know you were with him in a room for a long time doing an interview, and people can see the actual video, some of the video of you interviewing him on Forbes. What was it like, sitting down with the guy? How would you describe the aura he puts off, the energy?
Yeah, I think he will just sink his teeth into whatever idea is on his mind, at the moment, and he won't let go.
I'll be working on home designs and looking at references from 3,000 years ago and reading the Old Testament at the same time. So it's like a soundtrack to the visuals of the shapes and the ideas and ideals of what we're creating.
And he can't really. I think he can't let himself give it up until he's kind of like perfected it to his specifications. And you can tell he has so much passion for each individual thing that he's doing. So for me, when I was interviewing him, I think the thing that he was the most fixated on was this housing concept. Like he was building, he wanted to build these special, specially designed homes that were done in the style of his own home, but for low income folks, to try to scale up something that could help people in the local community in LA. And he was talking to me about this in the interview, and we finished up around midnight, and he goes, "All right, well, I want to show you something." I said, "Okay." So he takes me outside, and I follow him back. I'm like, maybe he's got a workshop, whatever. And no, instead he ushers me into his Lamborghini SUV, and he cranks up the JS Bach, and off we go, barreling down the hill in the middle of the night. And after about 15 minutes, we come to a little bungalow in the woods. I'm like, all right, we get out. Inside there are three guys mashing away on laptops. And on these laptops are these presentations that they're about to give on this housing concept. And he's like, change the font there, change the color of that. And after about a half an hour, he seems satisfied. And he says, I want to show something else. Come on. So he opens the back door. Off we go into the woods. And now it's 1 a.m. and we're, somewhere in the Santa Monica Mountains, the foothills of Santa Monica Mountains, pitch black, middle of the night, by the lights of our iPhones. We're going up this trail deeper and deeper into the woods.
Does he own this land?
Yes.
Okay.
Or at least that's what I had been led to believe in,
Okay.
given no reason otherwise. So, but my main concern at this point is, I'm going to get eaten by a mountain lion.
Yeah.
And Kanye will too, and I'm just going to be a footnote in the obituary.
The dude that Kanye died with.
Right, exactly. So after about 5-10 minutes, we come to a clearing, and in the clearing, so he stops, wordless, and we look up, and in the clearing are these like 30-foot tall structures, and kind of like oblong, oval type shaped things, and he leads me inside. And they are the physical embodiment of these structures.
The prototypes.
Prototypes that he's been trying to create.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, hey Kanye, can I turn my recorder on and so you can explain, what we're looking at here? And he goes, no, I want you to paint a picture with your words. So I'm like, all right, well, I'm just gonna have to get out my little notebook here and
Sure.
scribbling away.
Get some words down.
5 minutes later, he's like, are you good? Yeah, I'm good. Back down the hill into the Lamborghini and back to my rental car, and in bed by 3 a.m. So
What time did you start your interview with him?
8 p.m.
Really?
Maybe, yeah, on a Sunday night.
8 to 3 with Kanye.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. See,
Where's his wife? Was his wife around?
She was around. She offered us water, stuff like that.
Did
the video
she
team.
have anything to do with the interview? Did she sit down and be part of it at all, or was it just?
She talked to me separately for the story. She talked about how they bounce business ideas off of each other, and some of the ways that his sensibility for design, has helped some of the projects she's worked on. But yeah, I mean that's what really stuck with me. The story was about his Yeezy empire, and he was definitely, that was clearly like a huge consideration for him. But he was so focused on this housing concept that he just couldn't. He couldn't.
Yeah, it's his next thing. It's his
move
next
away from
thing.
it. Yeah,
It's always the next thing with an entrepreneur. So, did he talk about the Yeezys? How did he? What was the? How did he get into the? How did he get into that?
Yeah, he always loved to draw. He always loved to design. And when he was a kid growing up in Chicago, he would be sketching He would be sketching Jordan 1s actually. He
really?
told me.
Wow.
Yeah. Just drawings because he liked them.
Yeah.
And he would get in trouble with his teachers because he was doing that instead of his math equations or what have you. And and I think it took a backseat to the music for a while. But once he gained certain stature, he started being able to do these collaborations. So Yeezy began with Nike. He did a few different designs there.
You get marginalized by the corporations and what your messaging can be. Now, this is one thing where the conversation changes when you have a child, because oh, it's cool that they marginalize me. And I asked them when the Yeezy Red October is coming out. I asked them, Kanye West asked Nike, when does it come out? They said, we're not sure yet. They let me design 2 shoes over 5 years, and I'm happy I could design them, but they ain't do me no favor because Eminem designed a shoe and Pharrell designed a shoe. I just designed the Yeezys. I turned up because I was in 4th grade designing Jordans, and I brought back that feeling you ain't never felt about about a shoe since the Jordans, the way people feel about the Yeezy. I put that feeling, and the same feeling I put in College Dropout and Graduation and 808s, all that feeling that I put that feeling there. So then I started turning up in a BBC interview, and they said, okay, cool. We're going to give you a bigger sandbox to play in. It's not even like I even got a joint venture. I'm like, at least give me some royalties. Like, Michael Jordan got 5%. That business is $2 billion. He makes $100 million a year off of 5% royalty. I said, I need some type of royalty. Nike told me, we can't give you a royalty because you're not a professional athlete. I told them, I go to the Garden and play one on no one. I'm a performance athlete, and also
Did you
I'm
say
a
that in the
thinker.
meeting? Do you really say that in the meeting?
Did I really anything? Yes. Did I really everything? 100,000%.
Yes.
I'm 100,000%.
I would love to go on a meeting tour with
times.
Meeting, right? I want to go to the meeting tour.
Oh, because the thing is, it's people that work in offices trying to tell me how to think. When I got a better perspective. I live in Paris.
I love, and I was there last night.
And New York and LA.
I was there last night, and I was moved by your rant last night.
And then, several years ago, pulled it over to Adidas. And, it's because he insisted on ownership. Even when he was with Nike, they weren't really paying him, but he owned the concept. He owned the Yeezy brand. And he took it over to Adidas, where he continues to own it. But, because he insisted on that 100% outright ownership, it enabled him to make that move.
Rapid fire. We have time for we have 4 minutes, three questions. 4 minutes, 3 questions. Here we go. Wes Carter, what question would you like to ask senior editor from Forbes, who made a series of poor life choices and has ended up in Tulsa, Oklahoma? He's not in Manhattan today. We've got him inside the studio here. What question do you have for him?
I'm wondering, out of all these interviews, I know a lot of them talk about their side projects going on. Have any of them really opened up about their thoughts on wanting to transform the music business itself, with all the new things coming out with streaming and Spotify and Apple Music? I mean, do they gravitate towards their own business in the music industry, or do you see they really focus on some of their side projects that they're trying to get other stuff going on?
I think it's a mix of both, but if you want to talk about changing the music industry, I think one of the most fascinating cases to look at, the 3 kings of hip-hop, Jay-Z, Diddy, Dr. Dre. I say 3 kings. I wrote a book with the same title in 2018. And in that book, and also in my new book, A-List Angels, I talk about how those 3 guys were like, you know what? We became entrepreneurs by necessity in the late 80s, early 90s because people weren't interested in hip-hop. We created our own record labels. We created our own clothing lines.
Yep.
Now, we're going to create our own streaming services, or we're going to invest in existing ones. So Diddy invested in Spotify, Jay-Z bought Tidal, and Dr. Dre had Beats Music, which then became Apple Music. So, they each found a way to not only create the music, to create the stuff that comes out of that, but to own pieces of the next platforms that would deliver the music as well. And I think that's the kind of change, that's the kind of vision that the best of the best have. It's not just how to create the next big product. It's how do I create the next big category.
I will say this: if you're out there today and you've not yet purchased a copy of Three Kings, Diddy, Dre, and Jay-Z, and hip hop's multi-billion-dollar rise, that is an incredible book. And in my hands, I have an early edition here of the new book here, A-List Angels: How a Band of Actors, Artists, and Athletes Hacked Silicon Valley. And I'm just telling you, I'm so fired up to read this book because, Zach, you write with such detail that if you're somebody who's remotely interested at all in business, you're going to love these books. But if you're somebody who likes music, which I do, you're going to love these books. Now, if you're somebody who likes entertainment, you're going to love these books. So it puts them all together because so many books, they're just drivel about, we're just sort of talking about how successful somebody is, but his book deals with the messy middle. It tells you how they did it, how they got there. It's really the detail in here. A-List Angels, check out this book. I'm excited to read this book. Thank you for hand delivering it, by the way. Dr. Z, we have time for one more question before we hit up our next guest on the phone line. And Corey Mentor with Trinity Employment stepped in. It's a laser show.
I know it's weird. It's a laser
boy.
show.
Oh.
Zach, what's next? What's next for you? What's next for you, bud?
Well, I think the next thing I really want to do is bring more of the storytelling to people in person. And so, if you check out zogspeaking.com, there's more details on, sort of some of the speeches that I give. But the idea of like telling these stories, bringing actionable advice to people, from having sat down with a lot of the leading figures in show business, what are the things that I can bring to the average entrepreneur, to the average person, that they can use in their careers, in their journeys? I think it's actually kind of surprising how much overlap there is.
Do you like speaking or writing better?
Man, I think it depends on the day. It's just
depends on how much I've been writing last week or speaking.
The grass is greener. You do a few big travel gigs in a row, and you're like, I just want to sit and write. But then and a lot of times when I'm really in crunch time on the books, I'll take a week or two off from Forbes, and I'll just kind of go hard on the book writing. And man, you just, after a couple of weeks, it's like you really would love to be out speaking to human beings again.
If you guys go to zogspeaking.com, zogspeaking.com, that stands for Zack O'Malley Greenburg. So zogspeaking.com, you can see samples of him speaking. So you can see, but I'm just telling you, if you're listening out there today and you own a company, a lot of times when your employees get a chance to hear stories about Justin Bieber and Kanye West, but it's practically, it actually practically can be related back to your business. That's fun. It's fun. It's entertainment. It's education. It's edutainment.
We call that edutainment.
That's what we call it. And now, without any further ado, 3, 2, 1, boom! Stop what you're doing and think about this for a second. What would happen if your company was suddenly able to generate exponentially more quality sales leads? That would be incredible. What would happen if your company came up at the top or near the top of the Google search engine results?
Well, I would just feel overwhelmed with all that business.
How many thousands of dollars in lost sales or millions of dollars in lost sales are you missing out on simply because your potential customers can't find you when they go online to search for the products and services that you offer?
I refuse to think that thought because I don't want any more business.
Unless you are a dirty communist that hates money, my new book, Search Engine Domination, will help you grow your business. In my new book, Search Engine Domination, we will teach you the specific steps that you need to take to dominate the search engine results.
What do you mean by dominate?
You see, in my new book, Search Engine Domination, we will teach you the specific steps that you need to take to dominate search engine results. Download your free ebook copy today at thebestseobook.com. I repeat, that's thebestseobook.com.
My name is Amy Baltimore, and I am a CPA in Covington, Tennessee. I've been working with the Thrive team now for about a year. One of the first things that they did was to update my website and my search engine optimization. I prior had a website, but I was not being found on Google, and all of my new business was coming through referrals from friends, family, etc. And right away, I started to see results. People were calling and coming in saying that they found me on Google. They just Googled CPA near me, and there I was at the top of the page. And so it's been a great help to my business.
Again, you can download your free ebook copy today at thebestseobook.com.
Hey, this is Dustin Huff. I'm with Keystone Harbor Marina. We joined Thrive back in January and have been working with these guys for about 7 months. During that time period, we have moved up our Google rank through reviews and SEO processes that we've compiled through these guys. Our leads have gone from about 4 a week to now 165 a week. So the process works. I will tell you from experience, once you begin, you have to stay with it. As long as you continually do this week in and week out, month in and month out, you'll continually grow.
The system works, but nothing works unless you do. You've got to take some action. Download the ebook for free today at thebestseobook.com.
Hello, my name is Daniel with Daniel's Heating and Air here in Amarillo, Texas. The way Google has affected my business, we have got a lot of calls from Google. Right now it's July and we've had the best month ever. And it took us about 8 to 10 months to get on top of Google, and I'm glad we did.
Remember, nothing works unless you do. You have to go to thebestseobook.com today. Download the ebook for free. Just download that ebook for free, and you'll be off to the races.
Hi, my name is Christina Nemus. I'm the owner and operator of Angel's Touch Auto Body and Detailing in Bourne, Massachusetts. We have been working with Thrive and their coaching for, say, 8 to 9 months, and it took us about 6 months, 5 to 6 months to get on the top of Google, and with their help with the website and marketing, and the SEO and retargeting ads with Google, and it has been phenomenal. We just have light and day business coming in, phone calls coming in, walk-ins, referrals. It's just through the roof, and we couldn't be happier. At the moment, we are up 50% this year from the previous year, and not only is that part of our own hard work and diligence, but also with the help of Thrive and what they've done for us and getting us on the top of Google and, you know, all their knowledge and coaching. And yeah, so super grateful, super pumped to see what the future holds for all of us. Thank you.
This is your year to thrive. Success you will find. Today is your day, and now is your time.
Lazy hands make for poverty, but diligent hands bring wealth. Proverbs 10:4. I'm here to tell you, you can do it if you can just motivate yourself. 12 the masses had to cut off a few, so on the daily you and I could rendezvous. A misshapen tree that I had to prune. I had to make cuts to be here daily at noon. So like a tidal wave of knowledge monsoon, I could rain on the parades of those who doubt in you. Are you the next Rockefeller or the next guru, or the next Dr. King who's changing the rules? Walls are in your way, will you run right through? Like a running back, forth the one, it's up to you. I remember my days back in the dorm room, tuned to the gloom like the temple of doom, overwhelmed with the doubts that try to consume my hope for the future that I could pursue. But from the mountaintop now I can conclude that you have what it takes if you want the view to.
This is your year to thrive. Success you will find. Today is your day, and now is your time. It's your year to thrive. Success you will find. Today is your day, and now is your time.
This moment is profound cause you're above the ground. Your road might have been rough, but what you got now is now. We're here to pick you up and to even show you how, but you gotta be resourceful with that old plow. Started from the bottom, but I worked my way up, cause by 4 a.m. I've always been prayed up. Rise and grind as your time, don't dare let up. You gotta get it, don't quit it till your seeds grow up.
This is your year to thrive.
Come on.
Success you will find.
Yes.
Today is your day.
Somebody say,
and now is your time.
It's your time.
It's your year to thrive.
Come on.
Success you will find. Today is your day, and now is your time.
It's your time.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
all
yeah.
have a wish and we all want to win, but we cannot begin without self-discipline. If you fall on your face, get yourself up again. Attach yourself to goals, not fail with the friends. When the storms get rough and it's scatter and leave, you only be there with yourself and what you believe. We believe in you, but not as much as God does. If you're going through hell, he's got nothing but love. Apply what you learn, increase what you earn, and in due time
You
you'll
got
have money to burn.
Apply what you learn, increase what you burn, and in due time you got money to burn.
Sing it.
Apply what you learn, increase what you burn, in due time you got money to burn.
Sing it.
Apply what you learn,
Sing it.
increase what you burn.
Yes.
In due time you got money to
With this biblical miracle, I look to shout down the doubters. Kill the weeds that be killing your dream flowers. Empower you to devour all the obstacles that make your sweet dreams sour. As for me, I used to stutter, but now I'm on the microphone smooth like butter. If I can do it, I know you can too, but you must stick to it like postage do. And while Merton's on the chorus, singing what he sings, I encourage you to dream big dreams.
Today is your day.
Today's your day.
And now is your time.
It's your time.
This is your year to thrive.
Sing it, sing it.
Success you will find. Today is your day.
It's your day.
And now is your time.
It's your time.
Today is your day.
Come on.
And now is your time.
Sing it, Merton.
Today is your day. Now is your time.
I realize I can't sing like that, but I can talk and play the woodblock. Okay. If you guys need me, I'll just be over here.